Hi and Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 11 from the class of Fiqh for Economists 1. Today, we as a group will be presenting about topic 4, which is resource scarce in Islamic economy? We will be answering some of the few raised questions and how we can relate them to the SDG goals. Economics is a type of activity that tries to fulfill all the needs and the wants of human beings. So therefore, basic needs such as food, clothing and shelter is vital in maintaining the life of human beings. Apart from that, there are also wants or desires whereby these items are not actually needed for humans to survive, but rather they have the desire for these items. In order to fulfill all the needs and desires, each individual must carry out economic activities such as production, distribution and consumption. This is where the main problem arises, namely scarcity, whereby this term refers to the unlimited problem of the needs and desires of human beings despite there being limited resources available in the world. So scarcity can be divided into two types, absolute scarcity and relative scarcity. Absolute scarcity refers to the type of scarcity whereby there is an absolute insufficiency of resources no matter how hard it is being looked for, and for relative scarcity, it refers to resources being available, but scarcity exists due to problems such as limited knowledge on how to use them or distribute them. In the Islamic economy, absolute scarcity is totally rejected, whereas the view of relative scarcity still remains a problem till today. This is because the Quran has mentioned, "And He has granted you all that you asked Him for. If you try to count Allah's blessings, you would never be able to number them. Indeed, humankind is truly unfair, totally ungrateful." So therefore, from this verse, we can see that Allah has given us enough resources and we have to use them accordingly. And last but not least, these are the list of questions that have arisen, and we as a team will try to answer them as best as possible and how we can relate them to the SDG goals. In Islam, it is believed that Allah is the absolute owner of all resources, and the Islamic system controls the wealth distribution while maintaining the balance of respecting the rights of individuals as well as the society. The Islamic economics establishes the fundamental principle of wealth and income distribution, ensuring that wealth is not only distributed to the wealthy. This goes in line with the first SDG goal, as the Islamic economics tries to distribute property and wealth equally so that poverty can be prevented in the society. One of the ways Islam tries to decrease poverty is by circulating the wealth between the rich and the poor, and one example is through the payment of zakat, whereby this kind of act prevents the rich from hoarding all of their wealth, because this act is not condoned in Islam, because in the Quran it has been mentioned, "Tell those who hoard gold and silver instead of giving in God's way that they will have a grievous punishment." So clearly from this verse we can see that Islam does not like the practice of keeping the wealth to themselves, but instead try to spend it in the way of Allah. Ultimately, if people were to practice Islamic economics, then the whole issue of poverty can actually be reduced in the society today.
Quality education for the children will lead them to better understanding of how scarcity works. Quality education can also provide these children a future that they can hope for. However, not every child in the world has access to higher quality education. For example, 57 million primary school aged children are still out of school, with more than half of them living in sub-Saharan Africa. However, great progress has been made towards the goal universal primary education since 2000. In 2015, the total enrollment rate in developing regions reached 91%, while the number of children out of school worldwide fell by nearly half. In conclusion, if more children can access a quality higher education, they will understand how scarcity in the economy works and even make use of allocated resources available to everyone around the world. Production of goods and services is critical for survival of an economy, while consumption is the second most important economic activity. People's standards of living is determined by the quantity and quality of their consumption. To achieve economic growth and long-term development, we must drastically minimize our environmental footprint by altering how we produce and consume commodities and resources. Responsible consumption and production is basically divorcing economic growth and from unsustainable resource use and emission, while also addressing hazardous material and waste management.
In the following discussion, we focus on why good health and well-being are important in preventing scarcity in medicine and treatment among us. This relates to Goal 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals, good health and well-being. First of all, what is good health and well-being? Good health means that a healthy body that frees from any sickness and disease. To live a disease-free life, we must take care of our health. Medicine and treatment, as we all know, are generally expensive. They must use a high-tech machine and dedicate a significant amount of time to medical research and development. Treatments also make use of high-tech machines that cost hundreds to millions of dollars for a single disease. Typically, like Malaysia, our government provides subsidies in medicine and treatment so that people can afford to get treatment and medicine to cure their illness. However, they also provide treatment in a private hospital, which provides better treatment and service to those who can afford to pay for their service. We can compare this to a pandemic COVID-19 situation in our country, Malaysia. Scarcity in medicine and treatment can be seen in vaccinations received during this pandemic COVID-19. Vaccination in Malaysia, such as AstraZeneca, is extremely limited due to a first-come, first-served system. Malaysians who are volunteer to take the vaccine must seize the opportunity to register for vaccine appointments as soon as possible. How do we want to keep our bodies healthy and fit? Well, there are many ways of them for us to practice in our daily life to keep our body healthy and in a good condition. The easiest way is to take care of our diet by eating properly according to the food pyramid. A portion of healthy food leads to a healthy body since our body receives enough protein, vitamins, calcium, carbohydrate at once in a good quantity. For instance, we can cook for the family dinner by using the healthy recipe with less sugar, less oil, and less salt in our cooking. Moreover, we can exercise regularly like 2 or 3 times a week. Exercise regularly like jogging can keep our body fit and feel healthy over time regardless of our age. To conclude, taking care of our health as well as our family and friends is one of the most important ways to keep medicine and treatment from face shortage in our country. We had no idea that the situation would worsen if the number of sick and diseased patients increased dramatically in future.
Fasting is an act of Muslims refraining themselves from eating, drinking, and doing sexual intercourse, starting from dawn until sunset. In Quran, Allah mentioned that Muslims are obligated to fast as it was prescribed to people before them. There are 2 types of fasting, which are obligatory and sunnah. In the months of Ramadan, Muslims tend to do good deeds as they will be rewarded 700 multiples from usual month. Thus, it arises a question, can fasting help achieving zero hunger and preventing food shortage? First and foremost, fasting can help a person to be more focused in their action. As Islam prohibited wasting, this also includes wasting for non-physical matters such as time and thought. A negative thinking is a way for a person to waste his time. This will lead to negligence in his decision making. A nap at noon is important for the person as he woke up early in the morning to have sahur. A study showed that a nap will help a person in enhancing his memories. This proves that fasting can help a person make an excellent decision by enhancing his memories. Next, fasting reduces the risk of food shortage. Usually, food shortage happens because of the natural disaster like COVID-19 that is happening around the world starting 2020 until now. The government of those affected countries have provided many ways to cover this problem. With fasting, a person can prepare for his food resources as they will take a small portion during fasting. This is due to a small appetite in morning and obligation of prayer after breaking the fast. Thus, they will not worry about food resource as they manage it well. In addition, Fasting promotes people to have a healthy body and mind. This is because the body system got their rest to perform well in the future. It was proved by a patient that faced with chronic fatigue syndrome. As she diligent in her diet remedy that was suggested, she became healthier than before. By fasting, people can manage their resources in medicine and treatment by having a healthy body and mind. Lastly, fasting promotes in experiencing the unfortunate people around the world. Allah commands Muslims to experience it in a month every year, which is Ramadan. As a result, Muslims will not waste their wealth but sharing it with the unfortunate people in helping them getting their food and other supply. This concludes that fasting can help reducing food shortage and achieving zero hunger. Fasting is one of a zero-cost solution that can be applied for many people as well as maintaining the nutrient needs for a person.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. My name is Fadl Ali Nasir, and today I'm going to be explaining the goal number 6, which is the clean water and sanitation. I'm going to be answering two questions. The first question is, what are the causes and effects of the water scarcity? First of all, what is the water scarcity? Water scarcity can be defined as the lack of the fresh water resources to meet the standard water demand. However, there are so many causes of the water scarcity, and I'm gonna be present the most important reasons. First reason is pollution. The pollution can come in many forms like the plastic waste, untreated human wastewater, and industrial waste. And thus, pollution is becoming the first threat to the availability and reuse of water. The second reason is the climate change and the global warming. As a human continue to bomb more carbon dioxide and the other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, the pattern of the weather and water will change around the world. And for this reason, global warming also another important cause of the water scarcity. The third reason is the population growth. With the growth of the population continuously in the recent times significantly, they are consuming a greater amount of the water resources, which putting extra strain on the freshwater resources. So, while there are so many causes of the pollution, there must be an impact due to all of these causes. Therefore, the main impacts that be caused due to the pollution are the hunger, the poverty, and diseases. And the second question is what are the solutions towards this issue? The first one is saving water whenever possible. This could mean limiting of the use of water, like taking a short shower instead of the full bath, and also the people try to convince their families and friends to save the water. Save it whenever and wherever possible. The second solution is education, by teaching people how to use the water and not waste it without any benefits, and also to warn people from the danger of the water scarcity. Last but not least, recycling, like recycling the rainwater and the other water that people may be used in their houses. Consider learning about how people can recycle water. Not only does it help to prevent scarcity, but it will save money as well.
In conclusion, the answer to whether or not resources are scarce in Islamic economics is hard to say, but we do know that Allah provides plentiful of resources to us. Allah stated in the Quran, "Were you to count the favors of Allah, you shall never be able to encompass them." We as humans must make a correct and efficient use of resources that Allah has given us, so that the resources created do not go to waste. Other than that, the resources we have now will hopefully be sufficient for future generations.